If you're intelligent, it's going to make you more intelligent. And if you're dumb, it's going to make you more dumb.
If it's not for me, it's a waste of time anyway.
If somebody's doubting something that I'm doing or not doing, then that actually means that I'm doubting me. Take half of your money and invest in assets that are really secure. Put your other half in just like moonshots. Memory with handwritten notes versus typed notes is much, much greater. Welcome to the Full Stack Podcast. I'm Mike Bledsoe. The world is changing faster than ever. The systems are collapsing, the rules are being rewritten, and certainty is disappearing. The question isn't how do we survive it? It's who do we become through it? This is your field guide for living the full stack life. Integrated, adaptive, and sovereign by design. Join the movement and gain free access to the Full Stack School community at bledsoe.life. This isn't the end of an era. It's the rise of a new kind of individual. You're not alone. You're early. Stay stacked. If this episode resonates, like the video, subscribe, and share it with a friend.
So what are you doing with ChatGPT that most of us don't know about?
I discovered that you can take a picture of your handwriting and it can transcribe it into text. And I write, if you're watching the video, I write in cursive, which was like, okay, I bet if I print, ChatGPT will be able to pick it up. But let's just see if it'll pick up because it's gotten so damn good. Let's see if it'll pick up my cursive, because I prefer cursive. I can write faster. I'm drawing words instead of letters. There's a lot of benefits to cursive, and I'll let people contemplate that one real quick. But it can read my writing with 99% accuracy. And so, I was reminded of I saw a piece of research recently where it was talking about how memory with handwritten notes versus typed notes is much, much greater for memory. There's another hack I do is I'll journal in different colors as well, depending on, I'll just kind of go by intuition on which color I'm supposed to be using. That also increases memory. So now what I'm doing is, for anything I still type into ChatGPT or I'll talk to it. But now when it comes to fleshing out ideas, I'm working on an article, or prior to us recording the show, for my show prep, I journaled my show prep. And then me going back and reading my cursive during the show is not a good idea. But I'm able to take a photo of it, put it in ChatGPT. It can transcribe it, and then I can just take that and I have a little note here on my screen where I can view it. And so, and then of course, I'm always creating blogs, and I'm creating courses all the time. So my ChatGPT knows me pretty well. So as soon as I put in the journal entry, it immediately asked, do you want me to create an outline so that you could teach the concepts that you just put in here? I said, yeah, absolutely. Like, give me an outline. Show me what you got. And so I'm really enjoying using ChatGPT like that right now, because, there's other research coming out that, basically people using ChatGPT are getting dumber. But and then I've also had some people, I have some really smart friends who are using it, and they go, yeah, if you're intelligent, it's going to make you more intelligent. And if you're dumb, it's going to make you more dumb. Yeah. And because if you're intelligent, you're going to use it in a way that challenges you, and you're learning, and you're in a real dialogue, and you know how to check it, and you know how to get it to check you. But if you're not already a critical thinker, AI is going to you're going to think less. Yeah. And you're going to just follow orders more. But if you're a critical thinker, great tool. And then, I'm taking the ancient tool of the pen, and then I'm merging it with the most modern tool of AI. And so, okay, here's a business idea for somebody out there that's a tech person, is if you just make the pen, I can just journal, and then the pen is automatically uploading it into my system. That would be an upgrade instead of me having to take a picture of it or whatever.
That's a perfect
small little business idea for somebody.
iPad app. Like, I have the Apple Pen and the iPad app, and it already does the handwriting and puts it into the notes. If you just make an app for that streamlines it, like written prompt, then just send us the commissions.
I like the feeling. I like the feeling of writing on paper.
Yeah. Which, let me see the handwriting again really quick. I
Yeah.
wanted to see if you have like really nice handwriting. Okay. It's not like extremely nice, but it's not sloppy by any means.
It's not calligraphy, but I do get complimented. And every once in a while, someone will come over, I'll have my journal out, and they'll look down and go, "Oh wow, that's pretty good." I didn't print. I only wrote in cursive from like maybe like the second grade. As soon as I could write in cursive, I never wrote in print again until I got in the Navy, and then it was required, and then I had to relearn how to print.
Oh wow.
And when you're making entries in the military, it's like all capital letters too. So it's just really slow and arduous. And I got back into cursive, and yeah, I love it.
Something tells me you're not a fan of schools not teaching kids cursive anymore.
Oh, is that not happening?
I read that
Oh, no.
we reported it on the news a while ago that schools are like, no need for cursive anymore. And I'm like, why?
dude. Yeah, there's something about drawing a letter versus drawing a word. And so there's a concept called fluency. And so usually when people think about being fluent in something, they're able to speak a foreign language fluently is usually how it's referred to. But fluency is how fast and easily can you understand something. And so if I have a black background and I have red writing versus a white background and black writing on it, same words, same font, the black writing on the white background has higher fluency because it's easier for me to comprehend and read. And when something's easier to comprehend and read, it increases believability. And so for people who are building any websites out there, if you don't have strong contrast between your words and your background, then people aren't going to believe what you're selling, for one. So that's one little practical application to that. The other, and so I'll take it, I'll extrapolate a little bit. And so the way I see it is writing in cursive is a more fluent way of getting ideas out than drawing letters. So I'm drawing letters or I'm drawing words. What's the speed and the ease in which it is to write that? If you've been writing in cursive a lot, it is much more easy to journal and write by hand in cursive than it is. If you're not practicing it, you would disagree. But if you had the skill of both, you would know. Everyone who's developed the skill of writing, if you've written as long in cursive as you have in print, if you've got the equal amount of practice, the cursive's going to win.
Yeah, I want to adopt more cursive now because, I mean, my favorite letter in cursive to write was F, just like the loop up and down. Like that was.
Oh, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
I like L's too. L's, F's, D's.
Yep.
Like a capital D. I'm like, whew.
Yeah. See, you just inspired me to start adopting more cursive in my writing because it is more fun. It is more fun. Whether it's writing, Chat GPT, AI, or any other tools, when it comes to our four pillars, one being that business and financial growth, that business aspect. How are you elevating that, focusing on that? What tools, practices, or focus are you leaning into?
The type of work that I've typically done results in like really high highs and low lows. And in fact, like my wife, we've been together for over 5.5 years now, and she had never been with an entrepreneur before. She's always dated, or she was engaged once before. So she was in some serious relationships where there was like a lot of, you get a check every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks you get a check. You know what it's going to be. It's not changing. And then it's like, I'll close a deal that will feed me for 6 months. And then there'll be 2 or 3 months of like nothing. And I'm totally cool with that. And then, I can see accounts go up and down and all this. And she's like, when's the next deal coming? I'm like, I don't know. I'm chilling. And so I'm just doing my thing, writing my blog, hanging out, talking to people. And seeing what deals come through, and it just like blew her mind. And so, and at the same time, I do desire to have a more consistent. It's nice to have like a monthly amount that comes in that meets the nut,
Yeah.
right? So, and I currently have that, but what I'm working on is what I call like a barbell strategy. So Nicholas Taleb Nassim, who's an economist, he wrote Black Swan. He wrote Anti-Fragile. Brilliant guy. He's one of these guys that made a ton of money in the 2007-2008 crash, and he writes about this thing called the barbell strategy in investing, which is basically take half of your money and invest in assets that are really secure, gold, Bitcoin, whatever, right? I think it's 2025 now. We can all accept that Bitcoin is a pretty safe investment. 5 years ago, people were like, Bitcoin's not safe. I'm like, it's pretty stable for a crypto. But, put half in really stable stuff and then put your other half in just like moonshots. And so that's pretty much that really spoke to me, because before I read that book, I was operating from this concept I would call extreme balance. And that is kind of the same thing. And I would apply that to a lot of different areas of life. But in business right now, we just launched the school program. There's a free community, but there's also going to be a place where there's going to be a monthly subscription for a higher level of access and a different level of community and a different type of courses and curriculum. And so I'm looking forward to having that system in place where there's consistent revenue being generated. And if if there's ups and downs, they're pretty wavy, not big spikes. And so, and this is where I try to get a lot of my clients to as well, is how do we get a really consistent revenue that meets your nut? And then how do we, meets all your monthly expenses? And then how do we then create some moonshots that where if we close these deals or we make these things happen, then it's exponential. There's an exponential return. And so a lot of my attention right now is I've always got a lot of really cool deals in the flow. But right now it's while I'm working those bigger deals, I've got the school going on, and I'm taking on I've got like 2 more clients that I'm willing to take on one-on-one for the last quarter of this year. And so those are the systems I have in place. I always got I got the blog going, emails going. At any moment I could create something and sell it, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So how about you?
Landed into that monthly recurring revenue model. And it all started when my daughter was born. I know I'm still working that 9 to 5, or it's really that 3 to 10, but 3 to 11, early in the morning. But I identified right away, like, okay, I need something scalable, something that I don't have to be present for the whole time. So that came into building out my course and the community for the monthly recurring revenue. Where that has been helpful is on the last episode, you mentioned the mindset of an employee versus an entrepreneur. So my wife is also used to the consistent check, the job, just over broke, every 2 weeks, nice and comfortable. You know what to expect. I'm leaning more into those deals, which I've closed a few, but to your point, it's like a big pop, and then it's like, okay, when's the next one going to come in? So what I'm leaning into now is filling that funnel, leaning into my podcast and all the public things that I'm doing, all honed in on the same audience, the same focus, the same drive, and letting that trickle effect continue to come in and fill in my funnel. So it's making phone calls. It's a lot of forward facing things. That's how my whole business has shifted, really, because I had to be very intentional with my time. So I feel like I spent the last year or so building, and the time for building is done. The funnel is it's an MVP, minimum viable product. Now it's time to test that bad boy and get the people through it. And that's where a lot of my time has been allocated and focused on. And the best part is seeing it come together, whether it's an email list sponsor, whether it's another client that I've closed, another client needing an offer and a proposal. These are now things starting to come down the pipeline, which shows the validity of what I've set up. And then it begs the question to now is, when's the trade-off of enough of that cash flow, enough of that monthly recurring revenue where you no longer need the JOB to feel comfortable? And that's what's exciting now is starting to gather more data to start the projections, because I'm a numbers guy. I love finding out, okay, what is my cost of acquisition for a lead? I'm at about $4.50 for a lead. Now, what can I transfer that to, and everything else in between? That will really give me the confidence to be like, these numbers look good. I'm going to go ahead and dump this now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it. I love it. The other thing I'm doing right now is I've jumped into a new industry. So I've been in the same industry, like kind of the same industry for the last. I've been in coaching and consulting and internet marketing and with a little bit of tech here and there the last 18 years. And so now I'm working on a biotech project, which
Nice.
is like really, really fucking exciting. And with a really stellar team, like a bunch of A players. And I really can't say any more about it right now because the product hasn't launched yet. But yeah, there's something that I was like, my word at the beginning of this year was leverage.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started looking for really high leverage opportunities and activities. And so, yeah, I started consulting with this company a while back. And then I've gotten more and more involved, and it's just it's really cool to be like using a skill set that I've developed over the last 18 years and then being able to apply it to a whole new industry in a different way, a lot of like face-to-face interactions,
Mm-hmm.
and working with a team where I'm not the one running the company, it has been, and I'm actually playing a role in the company versus just advising. So as that progresses, I'll be able to share more information. But the thing that's exciting about that is on the purpose front. It's biotech, so we're actually developing the future of medicine.
Nice.
Very exciting.
Yeah. I mean, we could jump right there in terms of purpose and how what we're doing aligns, because we've talked about burnout before. We've talked about operating at a high capacity and high energy. I find that the things that I do, for example, like my Tuesdays and my Wednesdays, my calendar is full. And my wife would look at it and she's like, "You're going to be so exhausted." But podcasting in general is what really fills up my Tuesdays and my Wednesdays. And I've been in the past, I've been punching a pillow because of tech issues. I've been mad. I've been ready to flip a table, and I record a podcast, and then 2 hours later I'm on cloud nine and walking out of the studio. Like, I'm great. This is something that fills me up, and it's conversations I enjoy because it's aligned with purpose. So even though my days could be filled, those are days that are aligned, and obviously the work that I'm doing makes me energized. It energizes me instead of drains me, which is great. There's aspects of it, I know, like the more clerical stuff that is draining, but the actual work that I'm doing fills me up, and that feels because of the purpose and the alignment. I feel like that's really one of the driving forces. How is your purpose and alignment, whether it's the biotech company, full stack, everything you're working on, enhance that energy and what you're pouring into?
Yeah, I'm hearing like two different things, which is there's passion and then there's purpose. And so
Mm-hmm.
like I'm passionate about podcasting. Like we could hop on here and talk to just about anybody, and I have a passion for podcasting and putting out information. And so, but then on the purpose front, the purpose may involve is there's a end goal in mind of how I want the world to look different in the future, which may require me to do some non-passionate tasks along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm not passionate about everything it's going to require in order to. Like we launched the school, right? I'm really passionate about the community. I'm passionate about the curriculum, but I have not been passionate about some of the tech in the background. And I had to hold like the purpose out in front of me to get through that. And so like on the purpose front, like, yeah, working with this biotech company is, yeah, we're transforming medicine. We're gonna make what we're working on will in 5 to 10 years make a lot of pharmaceutical drugs obsolete. Right? That feels really. I'm passionate about that, and there's a sense of purpose that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
The full stack community. The purpose is to help elevate people and have everyone be able to live a full stack life where it's like, yes, my business is dialed in, my health is dialed in, my relationships are dialed in, I'm present with my family, and I'm working on purpose, and like being able to help other people achieve that. That feels very purposeful. And then it's the coaching and consulting calls that I have a passion for. And so if you can have both passion and purpose present, then you feel like you're on fire. Like there's no stopping me. I wake up and I'm like, I want to dig into what's here and present for me now. And so, what I want to highlight, because we've had a lot of people come into the full stack community, and a lot of them put in there like what they want to do. And a lot of them, what it sounds like is they're not experiencing a lot of purpose or passion in what they're doing, and they want to be able to make that switch over and to owning their own business, or maybe even working for somebody else in a capacity that's purposeful and full of passion. And I went through a big phase where I just said yes to everything. You got to say yes to everything at some point, and then you got to say no to almost everything. But if you really pursue pursue things that are purposeful and pursue your passions, and over time it'll be one of those things where these opportunities get put in front of you. So like I had a multiple companies reach out to me that were very similar in what they're offering, and I go, okay, well, which one's going to make the biggest impact? Okay, I'm going to choose this one. But I couldn't have done that 10 years ago. I didn't have those choices 10 years ago. But those choices are present because I continued to work on what I was passionate about. And so I developed skills around my passion. And now a lot of these opportunities come up. And if you would have told me like you have the opportunity to transform medicine, I'd go, well, I have no idea how that would happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have to have the idea on how that actually works. These are some scientists at like, MIT and UConn that are developing this stuff. It's not my creation. I just get to come in and do the one thing that I'm really good at because I pursued my passion for a long time. So, there's an investment period that gets to be made where you don't really know what the payout's going to be in the future.
Yeah.
But at least you had a good time along the way. I could say that for myself.
Which, I mean, I think one thing we mentioned, having the good time, the experimentation, the play aspect of it, which leads into accelerating the competency of what you're doing. When you're approaching it with play, you're approaching it with curiosity and enjoyment. And I've heard a lot of people say over and over, I don't know what my passion is. I don't know how to find my passion. And a lot of that just comes through exploring and doing or avoiding things you don't like doing is a good start, right? The process of omitting, like start there.
Yeah.
The mind will be very good at finding the negatives. So it's like, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. And that will still push you in a certain direction. But by exploring and trying new things, you stumble on something that you might have a natural acumen for. You say, okay, that wasn't that bad. And after a while, the consistency leads to the progress, and the progress leads to the passion at some point, because you see the impact that you have in a certain arena, or you see the value that you can provide. As you mentioned, you don't have to do the science stuff, but you get to bring your unique skill into the fold, and the clarity of what you bring to the table gives you value, and that value that you feel in that arena is what allows you to operate at your best. So when I hear people like, oh, okay, I don't know my passion, I don't know what my passion is, I'm hearing that you just haven't found that thing that you feel valuable in yet, to turn to push the needle a little bit, if that tracks, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What you think you're going to be passionate about doesn't always stay either. It shifts over time. Passion and purpose will expand. We talked about this on a previous show. I went to school for exercise and sports science, and my parents were asking me, what are you going to do with that degree? Be a gym teacher? And I go, I have no idea. I ended up opening a CrossFit gym, and I thought that the CrossFit gym was going to be my first and only business. Thinking like, man, I get to hang out in the gym all day. Pfft, what could be better than that? And then fast forward a few years, I'm like, man, hanging out in the gym all day is not all it was cracked up to be. And I was like, I always wanted, I always loved listening to the DJs on the radio, and there's this podcast thing. Let me try that out. So to start podcasting, it's like, oh, dude, this is fucking fun. I'm having a lot of fun doing this. How are you going to make money with that? I don't know. And then, of course, then I have an audience that is generated, and then they basically tell me what they want. And of course, they're going to tell me that they want something I can provide, because they're just tuning into my show because I'm talking about the things that they love. Like, we both love the same things. I'll just create a product for them. And because I've been doing all these interviews, I've become the expert on the topic. Mm-hmm. So now generating the course materials or the program or whatever it is really easy. And so it was not a straight line. There was a lot of trial and error. There was a lot of getting sick and tired of things, and then, I built a podcast that was all fitness. And then after 5 years, it's like, I want to talk more than just fitness. I don't want to just do fitness. Fitness is great. I love it. I can still talk about it, but it's not the only thing I want to talk about. So then I shifted gears again. And so, the passion and the purpose will expand, and the world is expanding, and what's possible is expanding. So what's going to be available to you in 5 or 10 years? When I started my CrossFit gym in 2007, podcasting wasn't a thing, but it became a thing, and I got to leverage it. Mm-hmm. And so, just as an example of like how that can change over time, and you're spot on. So I did a lot of things that I didn't like. I did a lot of things I did like, but later found out that I didn't like as much. And then I was able to find the next evolution of myself and expand into that. And I trust that now, like because I've lived long enough and been doing this long enough, I'm 43, I'm pretty damn sure by the time I'm 50, what I'm going to be doing when I'm 50 won't look like anything I'm doing now. And that's going to be awesome. And I can't even imagine what that's going to be. And if I just stay at one job and do the same thing, I can predict what 50 is going to look like. But if I continue to pursue my passion, I won't be able to predict it. And that uncertainty scares a lot of people. Yeah. And so one of the skills is being present with uncertainty and doing, really getting after it anyway.
Yeah. I've leaned into finding that uncertainty exciting more than anything. Like, some people see a blank canvas and they get scared, and I'm like, well, what are you afraid of? You have the paintbrush, like, it's a fresh canvas. You create something. And I've always told people, if I'm the same person 5 years from now that you met today, like, I'm messing up, I'm doing something wrong. We're supposed to change.
Yeah, I screwed up.
And supposed to elevate along the way. And it's so true of experimentation. There's a great book I read a while ago called The Dip by Seth Godin. You ever heard of that? So it's a great concept where he says some of the most successful people in life, it's not that they don't quit. It's actually that they quit often and early. And what he mentioned in the dip is like there's a dip in when you're trying something new, you increase competency pretty quickly, and then there comes a point, and he calls this the dip, where you realize to go from where you are to that next level will require X amount of work. And that's at the point where some of the most successful people decide whether or not they're committed to it or not. They're like, oh, okay, now that I've experienced this, I know what I need to go through to get to that next level. It's not worth it for me. So instead of sticking with it longer than they need to, white knuckling it, forcing it, there's a lot of self awareness. And I'm not that much of a fan. I probably have, and this is for someone who's a high performer. I have to work at this because I could stick to with things long because I know I'll eventually pick it up. I'll get good at it. But if it's not for me, it's a waste of time anyway, right? When I was anchoring, for example, I was a morning anchor for 6 years. I went back to weather, and they're like, "Bro, the anchor makes so much more money than the weatherman." I was like, "Yeah, but I don't like it." And I remember watching, one of the best to ever do it, Lester Holt, and I'm like, man, he's crushing it. And he's covering a breaking news story. I'm like, oh, I see the way he does that. And I asked myself 2 questions. Number 1, Ted, do you think you're capable of that? I said, yes, emphatically yes. If I wanted to, I could accomplish that. Okay, Ted, do you want to do that? No. That's when I decided not to anchor anymore, right? So The Dip by Seth Godin, great book on some of the most successful people. They try a lot of things. They quit early and often until they find that thing that's worth sticking with, worth getting that competency and growing into.
And the people around you will discourage you.
Oh yeah.
A lot of times. Like, oh, you quit that thing again. It's like, well, it's not for me. It's like, I thought it was. They're like, why can't you just stick with something?
Yeah.
But there's also a really good book called Mastery by Robert Greene. Have you read that one?
I have not read it. I'm familiar.
Yeah, I love that one. One of the concepts in there, he talks about how it takes about 7 to 10 years to master something, and he talks about why a lot of people don't really hit their thing. Because I remember in my 30s, I wanted to have my thing right now. Like I wanted to change the world right now. And then I remember reading that book, and I'm like, okay, slow your horses, bro. But it talked about it takes 7 to 10 years to master something. But the people who brought something really special to the world mastered 3 different things. So they spent 21 to 30 years developing themselves and pursuing the things they were passionate about, even if they didn't seem like they were related. In fact, if they didn't seem like they were related, it was even better. And then you can see that after like 30 years of pursuing passion, it all culminated at this moment where they invented something really incredible, or they innovated something that changed the world. And so, there's a lot of different ways to slice it. Like, you could say, you might not make a lot of money until you're 50 or so. Are you okay with that? Or do you want to make more money now and then maybe miss out on doing something special? And I don't think that they have to be exclusive. I don't think that you have to be a starving artist your whole life so you can make it big when you're 50. I think you can intelligently make great money along the way and have a lot of fun doing it. In fact, that's how I prefer to do it. But it's something to noodle on for people when you're listening to this. Is like, it's okay. I might invest like 7-10 years into this, and stepping away from this and going to something else could be fine. I mean, how long you been a meteorologist?
I've been in the industry just over 10 years. I was a meteorologist for 4 years before becoming an anchor, and last 4 years I've done meteorology. So
you've mastered it, right? Like you just got nominated.
Yeah, I did. Finalist for best weathercaster in the Carolinas. It's me and one other meteorologist, which ironically was my old chief meteorologist. So it's us two in the running.
So you've mastered it. Like you're one of the best, right? And so and you're pursuing passions and things that are different. And so maybe you master something else for the next 7 to 10 years, and then you switch and do something else. And then by the time you're 50, you've collected all these skills. I mean, Joe Rogan's a good example of this. Is like, why is he the best podcaster on the planet? I'm like, well, dude, or the best UFC commentator or whatever you want to call. Like, it all kind of blends in together for that guy. Is because he got up on stage and did comedy like every day for a long time. So he has stage presence. His type of comedy he does is a social commentary. And then he also spent his whole life in mixed martial arts. And there's an audience of people who like that wanted to hear him. And then the comedy people wanted to hear him. And then he mastered this skill of podcasting that didn't exist 20 years ago. So now he's mastered that. And then now he's able to like bring those three things together where he can talk to anybody. Mm-hmm. Like he can talk to like presidential nominees. He can talk to scientists. He can talk to, MMA fighters. He can talk to anybody, and it's interesting. And it's 3 hours and everyone wants to tune in. He wasn't born with that. He's in his, mid 50s.
Yeah.
He developed that.
Yeah. And everyone sees the end game and they want to do it right now. And something you said before, which is so true, and this goes into that relationship and leadership part, right? Where the people around you will defer, like they'll deter you from your plan, your goal, your trajectory. Sometimes the people closest to you will ask and question your movements and what you're doing. And especially
your mom.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Can I tell you how many times my mom's favorite saying is like, "You're killing yourself." But yeah, that is so true. But how do you, and I'm sure you don't have many of those voices around you right now, but how do you navigate some of the voices, and even still now, as you take chances?
Oh, they're still there.
Business, yeah. How do you navigate that?
I'm really big on my listening to myself, and so I recognize that everything that comes into my field is a reflection of who I am. So if somebody's doubting something that I'm doing or not doing, then that actually means that I'm doubting me in some way. And so there's an opportunity for reflection there. If I didn't doubt myself at all, other people wouldn't doubt me either. And so it causes me to go into a state of contemplation where I really get real with myself about, is this something I really want to be pursuing? Also, a lot of people seek advice, and there's a lot of people who will give it, what should I do in this situation? I had a client last week, and I don't do that too much. Like if I'm being coached on with someone who's helping me develop myself, like help me become, get to know myself better. But for instance, and that's how I work with clients too, is I will give the client the quote unquote right answer at times, but my goal over time is for them to become autonomous. So I had a client last week. He goes, I had a marketing agency. They gave me a pitch. They want to rebuild my systems, this and that. I want to know if I should do it. Will you review it? And so I was like, yeah, I'll look at it by the end of the week. And within 24 hours, I got another message from him. He said, you know what? I commit to learning how all this works. You don't need to review it. I got this. I go, good. I don't want you dependent on me. My job is to help you develop as an entrepreneur, so that I'm pointing out the things you need to learn. I'm pointing out, what's going on in your nervous system that's holding you back from making a choice, because you already know the quote unquote right answer. And so, yeah, I do take everything outside of myself as an opportunity to reflect, but I don't take the criticism or even the praise externally literally. Mm-hmm. I don't take it as like if someone is doubting me, I go, how am I doubting me? It's a reflection. instead of they might be right. If I get down to, oh, they might be right, then I'm not even reflecting on the right thing. But if I go down into how am I doubting myself? Oh, I'm doubting myself because of this, this, and this, and something happened in my past. I don't want to repeat that thing. Okay, how do I ensure that I'm not actually repeating a pattern? How am I making a new choice here?
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes it's like, yeah, that person was right, but not because I listened to them, but because they caused me to reflect on myself.
Yeah. No, I love that, because a lot of the reflections I've noticed where I would get defensive, the whole mom thing was a perfect a perfect line, because my parents don't fully understand my business or the mindset of the entrepreneur. They're very much used to the employee mindset. They're very much used to, work your job. My mom, she was a registered nurse for 30 years, right? So she got her paycheck, got her pension, and retired. And she's like, just do that. Like, my parents wanted me to sign like a 10. They're like, do they do 10 or 15-year deals, contracts? I'm like, Mom, why would I do that? But
Yeah. Well, they come from a generation where people had one or two jobs their entire lives and then they retired.
exactly.
That's not even available now.
It's a different
It's not
world.
even available. It's not even possible.
And that's the articulation of it.
I mean, 1%. There might be, like you might be able to stay at your station for that long, but that would be that's not typical amongst all industries.
Yeah. I know
and probably not even yours.
Law enforcement, they stick there for a while to get their 25 years for a pension. But very few and far between will you have companies still do things like that. Loyalty is gone.
Yeah, I mean, you're only going to find that in government, which is the slowest. There's no innovation.
Yeah.
There, like,
yeah,
there's. that's a topic for a different day.
We'll put a pin in that one too.
yeah.
But I'm explaining to my parents that, yeah, we live in a different world. It's not the same world that they operated in. And though there was a lot of things I learned from them that I am applying now, I also have to apply it to the nature of our current existence. So they don't fully understand my business. They don't understand when a client pays me money. They're like, wait, they're paying you for what now? And it's how much per hour? Huh? So those are some of the things that I had to notice, that I would get defensive when they would challenge it, but understand the grace of, okay, they don't fully quite get it. And on the opposite side, my wife will ask questions and I notice my defensiveness there. And oftentimes, again, the reflection of self, she's asking questions. I'm getting defensive because I didn't have the answers.
Yeah.
And it was
absolutely,
I wasn't buttoned up as well as I thought I was. And she has no malice. She's just trying to, check in, see, hey, you sure you know what you're doing? And the answer was like, no, no, I don't know what I'm doing.
No, I need to go study.
Yeah. So that was,
I need to go ask somebody how to do this.
let me get some good help, right? And because she noticed, she's not offering the help, but she's like, sure you know what you're doing? And when the answer is no, I'm getting defensive instead of, actually, I don't. Let me go find out what to do. But that's to your point, where the reflection piece and looking in the mirror and understanding, okay, why do these voices carry weight, right? Because I'm of the mind, I really don't care what many people think. There's like a certain threshold in the vicinity around me and a certain standard I hold you to that then gives me the gives me the sensitivity to your opinions. But if you're outside of that circle, like, have at it. You could think up, down, left, or right. But if you're within that circle around me and I actually value your opinion, then I will listen to that feedback. And that's where I tend to say, okay, what does that mean? Why does that land a certain way? I've learned that the emotions I feel when having conversations or when people challenge some of my actions, those are clues. And those are not meant to be avoided, but meant to sit with them. And I'll even journal, like, okay, my wife said such and such. Why did it make me feel this way? And I'll start to unpack that. And you said something before. Oh, well, I've made mistakes in the past that have lost me money, and I'm afraid of remaking that mistake. Well, what did I
Yeah.
do? And that gives me so much more clarity moving forward, but it also allows me to stand firm in my plan and in my trajectory as I'm moving forward, navigating some of those naysayers, because they're going to be out there. And I love that you said that the voices haven't
Yeah.
stopped.
Yeah. I mean, it's they're not as prominent. They're not as well. Part of it is like it's not because of who I surround myself with. It's because I have much more certainty in myself, and you know,
Yeah.
that's why the voices, the same people are there. They just don't question as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it might be because, I have a good track record at this point, but also, you know, I'm not signaling to them that I'm doubting. If someone questions me, it's because I've signaled to them to like bring that up for me. No reason to be angry with them. But again, anytime there's a charge, there's something there to look at.
Yeah. Health and vitality. How are, I mean, we are the vehicle, right? I've mentioned before, I'm training for a high rocks race, and it's a journey. It's a journey. How are you pouring into your health and vitality?
I'm building my training volume back up right now. I spent the summer in Europe, so I was there for 9 weeks, and then I went to Tahoe and started prepping for Burning Man. And I went to Burning Man, which is physically arduous. There's a totally got my circadian rhythm out of whack. Late nights and low sleep and all that, and so yeah, I just feel like right now I'm just getting back in shape. I back squatted this morning for the first time in a while. Um, I don't do a lot of like barbell squatting anymore because I used to do it 6 days a week
Oh, wow.
for about 8 years. So because I competed in Olympic weightlifting, but like, um, uh, sometimes today I was warming up and I go, oh yeah, back squats would feel really good today. That's what my body is asking for. And so, yeah, just getting my training volume back up, just getting my aerobic capacity back up, it helped that I was at elevation there for 6 weeks in Tahoe. And yeah, just getting where I can lift multiple sets of compound movements and get my VO2 max back up. And so that's where I'm at. Just getting back to like what I feel like is a solid base for me.
Nice. What is your VO2 max at that
I have
track?
no idea. This is VO2 max uh, training, training that increase your ability to consume oxygen. I don't do a lot of testing, so I go by feel a lot because I found that when I was doing testing, it actually like wasn't as helpful for me. I think it's a good calibration tool, but I think that I personally have a tendency to track too much,
Mm.
and which disconnects me with how I'm feeling. But now, if I'm not feeling quite optimal, I'll do some tests or track something and go, okay, this is off, and then it allows me to pinpoint what needs to be done. But yeah, I haven't done a VO2 max test in like 20 years. The one where they like strap the mask on you and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's the only way you're really gonna find out. Like I wear a Garmin, it tells me what my estimated VO2 is, but that's not accurate.
Yeah. And I wear the Whoop. And what did someone say? They say, how accurate is it? And I said, however accurate or inaccurate it is, it's consistent in its inaccuracy. So I'm following more of the trend than the actual number. So when I say, yeah, my resting heart rate went down, it's just the trend.
When it comes to a lot of these wearables, you just want your wearable to be, like you said, consistent. You want it to be precise, and precision and accuracy are different. Precise is it's going to give you the same. It's going to measure consistently over time. Accurate, until you go and get what is your VO? My watch is estimating my VO2. If it's improving, it's probably improving.
Mm-hmm.
But if I go and put the mask on and get on the treadmill, I'm going to get a different number off of that than what my watch is telling me.
That number would be more accurate. Your watch is more precise in its trend and where it's headed.
Well, I don't know about more precise, but it's precise enough for me to be able to track over time. I'm not a professional athlete, so
Yeah.
like when I was, when money is on the line, you might want to go do that. But I have some friends that run triathlons and stuff, and they do that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They go in 2-3 months, and they test before they do a race. And I'm like, it's not that important. Like, I competed for a long time. I'm not competing anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I feel like I'm transitioning into that competition field. I'm doing my first high rocks in about a month. And I come from a weightlifting background. I started lifting weights because of a picture of me, a little chubby, and a good friend of mine, God rest his soul, Charles Russ. He hit me up. He's like, "Bro, take that picture down, and we're going to the gym tomorrow." So I started lifting weights, and that's how I got to the muscular Ted that you see today. But I got to a point where I want go muscles, not just show muscles. So looked up the High Rocks race, and my biggest problem was I was carrying too much muscle. So the past month and a half or so, I've been running a lot more. I've been doing Muay Thai, so my cardio has gone up. My calories haven't really changed too much. I had to increase my protein intake a little bit to hold on to as much muscle as possible, and I lost a good amount of muscle. And I went from about 189 pounds to sitting at about 174, 175. But this past week,
how tall are you?
I'm 5'10" and 3/4.
5'10" and 3/4.
Well, I say
love it.
5'10" and 3/4, which is almost 5'11.
Yeah, Ted and I have never met in person, so I don't know how tall he is.
Yeah. How tall are you?
So, 5'8".
Okay.
So we probably have like a similar build. I'm like 170.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
but I carry most of it in my ass.
I carry a lot of it in my upper body. And so I have good sized quads, but like my calves have been little. I've been working on those calves for a little while now, which is
the old calf game.
Listen,
it's genetic.
It'll be the dead of summer, and like, why are you wearing sweatpants, bro? It's like, I don't want you to see my calves. I can squat pretty good. I don't skip leg day, but the calves are a little skinny. But I transitioned, started running. I lost some weight, but now being a month out of High Rocks, I'm marrying the two. Right, I'm getting back into more interval training. That way I can, now that I've built my running capacity, from what I understand of the race, is some of the most elite athletes, they treat the run as the rest. And then the functional stations is their effort. A couple of friends of mine, they did a High Rocks in Atlanta last April, and he's like 194 pounds, a lot more muscle. He's like, for him, the stations are the rest, and the running was what killed him. It's navigating that too, and I'll even ask your advice if you know any training approaches that could help me navigate the two. What would you think?
Yeah, everybody's different, and so like something might feel like rest, and something else might feel like work to somebody else, especially for those types of competitions. But I use to get like aerobic. I think one of the things that for like High Rocks and CrossFit both, the thing that was overlooked for a long time, I don't think it is amongst the elite athletes anymore, but is just getting your aerobic capacity really high.
Mm-hmm.
So really doing something called MAP training, where you're doing like 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off for like 20 minutes on like a Airdyne or the assault bike or whatever, or a rower. Something that's going to really push your aerobic capacity. Getting really good at that stuff that doesn't break down muscle, but it allows you to expend a lot of energy, is really, really helpful. And that's where like the assault bike comes in really, really handy, is because you're not going to break down a lot of muscle, but you are going to get your aerobic capacity up. And so ideally you want to get up to where like you can hold some pretty consistent intervals over like a 30-minute, maybe even up to an hour. And if you can do that, then all the other training, like everything else, becomes a lot easier, and your recovery will actually go up. Like it doesn't always, it can be counterintuitive because you're doing more work.
Mm-hmm.
You just start adding in those aerobic capacity training intervals. Say you do 2 a week, and you start with like 30 minutes on, or 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off for 10 minutes. And then you build up to like 20 minutes of that. And then you do a 45 on, 45 off, and you kind of play around with it. And then you work your way up to like being able to hold like a really good interval. And the idea is over, say, a 30-minute period, those intervals, you're going about the same amount of distance or burning the same amount of calories, whatever it is that you're measuring, you're staying in like this 80 to 90% range. And you're not ever maxing out because you're trying to keep a consistent output over the entire period of time.
Okay.
And so if you can do that, then all your other training is going to get easier, and your HRV is going to improve, your heart rate's going to improve, your recovery is going to improve, and then you're also just getting a lot more blood flow to all the muscles, and there's a lot more exchange happening. But you're not. It shouldn't. You may burn more fat doing that, but you shouldn't sacrifice a lot of muscle.
All I heard was the assault bike for an hour, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, and I about died inside.
Try that for 10 minutes first, and then work your way up
Yeah.
to like 20 minutes, and then we can check back in.
Okay. I did have one of my programs. I would do cleans, 4 sets of 4, about 155, 185. And then I would do heavy back squats, 245, 4 sets of 8. And then I would row for time. 1,500 meter row. I'd get that in about 6 minutes, averaging about a minute 55 to 2 minutes per 500 meters. And that would gas me. That would be like a workout. And that was one of my staples that I enjoyed. But I'm excited, as I know there's been a lot of talk in the trend of the hybrid athlete. I just see it as functional fitness, and not just show muscles, but go muscles, because at the end of the day, we're working on the vehicle that takes us from A to B. And I've found that it helps me in my business. It helps me with other aspects. And it helps me when we get back to summer, when you take the shirt off, a lot more confident when it comes to chilling at the pool.
It does feel good to look good. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, it does feel good to look good. And you guys look good watching the podcast. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button. Check us out each and every single week. Live free, work less, enjoy, lead with energy. We'll catch you guys on the next one. That's Mike. I'm Ted. Hold it down.